Hey guys, this is Bagel. This is the second episode of the Bocut Podcast. This time we had different segments that will be on Chara's and Ice's channel. On Chara's channel, we talked about how support players can do more in Splatoon 3. And on Ice's channel, we talked about Splatoon 2's legacy and is Splatoon 3 really a new game. Both of their videos will be in the description. Hope you enjoy this video. Bye.
There's no way we don't have major reworks coming to the ranked modes with the ink vacuum being what it is. So yes, a lot of people speculate the ink vacuum could kind of break objectives. There's an image of a bunch of people having a vacuum on his own. Haha, got him, GG, in overtime. You could block for people on the tower. You could block the Rainmaker. You could block people scoring clams. So every ranked mode arguably could get, quote, broken by the vacuum. So, I mean, I have my opinions, and I'll say in a bit, but I guess, Bagel, you want to start us off? Do you think the ranked modes actually need reworks, or do they not?
I think they honestly might have to because the ink vacuum is basically invincibility for your teammates, and we've seen that in Splatoon 1 with the bubbler and like Kraken, and we've seen that like Kraken just can sit on tower and just win objective.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like having especially bubble 2 on this Splatoon 3.
Yeah, the big bubbler, if it can
And
stay
the
on
ink
moving
thing
objectives.
can be pretty broken for objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I agree and I disagree. I think it all depends on the balancing of the specials themselves. Because obviously, like ink vacuum being what it is, it does look broken, just covering for your teammates. I'm just more curious of like, does elevation of where you're shooting like have a change of effect of like where it can suck the ink up, like where it can block. Like for example, the bubble. I think it's a really strong special for sure, and I can definitely see like on tower control if you have like the shield protector and you're at a checkpoint, for example, you kind of just get that checkpoint for free, and there's nothing the enemy team can do about it.
Mhm.
So if that's the case, I do agree with Bagel that we do need reworks as well as like FLC. I think it mainly just depends on how good the specials are, what their drawbacks are, and how they actually function.
Mhm.
I think for like certain modes like tower control with the bubble special, I think it's just way too strong, honestly, because 90% of like if the tower control, for example, is the same as Splatoon 2, 90% of tower control games are about checkpoint. It's about clearing a checkpoint, and that's where a lot of leads are held. So if you have a special that you can just plop down on the checkpoint, then it's a free checkpoint every time, and like it takes away the hard work.
Mhm.
So I do think that like in some aspects we need reworks. I just don't have any idea what those reworks could be.
Mhm.
The only one I can think of is like something like a change I would want in Clan Blitz, for example, just from the mode itself. But other modes, I'm not so sure.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm kind of split. A lot of people are going to bring up immediately, like, some specials might counter it, like maybe the bubble can block the vacuum, or whale would probably just go right through it. Zipcaster can let you get to the side. I'm not trying to say other specials can't deal with it, because what I can bring up is, okay, so's true for Stingray, and Stingray still makes playing Tower and Rainmaker really unfair. And until Ray got hard nerfed and Booyah Bomb came around, which could directly counter Raying on Tower, it broke Tower, and it still arguably breaks Rainmaker in a lot of situations. If Vacuum is even close to that, in terms of its ability to influence the objective, then either it makes you very dependent on specials to counter it, like, oh, we need a whale to kill the vacuum user, or we need a bubble to block it, or something like that, which could be a problem in and of itself. We don't want it to be entirely special dependent to deal with other specials. But there is a lot of other factors, of course, like how the maps are designed, etc. But my immediate thought is, yeah, how about we rework the modes so stuff like that isn't as strong? Like zones, for example. What if there was 3 zones on every map instead? And that way the vacuum could block one zone, but you could contest 2 other zones in order to, win. And that would require them to use 2 vacuums at least, something like that, which would make it more reasonable. So I could see smaller tweaks to the modes to where they're still similar, but not exactly the same. Or for stuff like Rainmaker, I could see it being completely overhauled. But I think a lot of it depends on, are the maps built around the idea of vacuum, or are the specials built around it so that there's a good amount of options to deal with it? But it's hard to say.
I definitely agree with that because like the main problem with Splatoon 2 was you need a special just to like move anywhere. So if Splatoon 3 is like that kind of, then you just need specials to counter a special, which I don't really generally like to have that.
Yeah, that's a worry for me. Like, if you have to use the vacuum to deal with,
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, if you have to use something to deal with the vacuum, then you're creating a very special dependent game, which is a bit worrying.
I mean, I think that definitely is the case. I feel like one of the easiest solutions to that is better map design, though.
Mhm.
Like creating multiple choke points, multiple angles of like entry and stuff like that. Um, in terms of like objective and stuff, I'm not I'm not sure in all honesty because I feel like any special that we've seen so far could be really really strong. Obviously, vacuum and the bubbler being the best ones.
Mhm.
But I forgot who I was talking to when they said this. But like, if it's specials that like will win you the game by like precise timing and like really really important use, then I don't think I mind it as much because that pushes the idea more of like communicating with your team and like teamwork
Mhm.
for Splatoon. But I think there's also a drawback to that, which is like, for example, like if it's a short time special, it determines like, well, how strong is that special? Because vacuum seems like it lasts a pretty long time,
It's
even
five
while it's like
seconds.
charging up. Yeah, even while it's charging up, and
Unless
those
if
5 seconds.
it takes enough. If it takes enough ink, it'll launch sooner. But the maximum is 5 seconds. If it not enough damages
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. So even those 5 seconds is enough for like all of a sudden you're pushed to be completely stocked because someone's just preventing you from hitting the ground or shooting in front of you.
Mhm.
So I think it definitely, I feel like it goes both ways.
Yeah. Personally, I do think it's still kind of hard to tell. Like, vacuum's the one where we can most see it break the modes, but it's hard to see if they've like thought of it. Like, maybe the vacuum gets blocked by the tower pole, or uh, zone like the bubble shield can't block all of it. Maybe the zones are bigger for that. We don't know what the devs have really tried with modes yet because obviously we haven't seen them. So I do think some adjustments are a necessity. I don't know if complete reworks are. It might just depend. And both specials still have counterplay. Like you can break the bubble shield, you can put enough ink so that the vacuum explodes early, or you can go around and kill these specials from alternate angles. Like there's clearly ways to deal with them. The question is
Um,
just, is it too one-sided to the point where the modes need to be tweaked to make it easier? And that's something that I don't think we know quite yet.
so far, like you mentioned, like the counterplay of them, I still think it's different, or like I still think it's hard because from what I've seen with the bubble, like it takes quite a bit of like shooting at it to make it shorter,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's still a fact of like we haven't seen like if the enemy team can walk through that bubble in the first place, or like if it's something that like correct me if I'm wrong, like we haven't seen the enemy team walk
No, we
through
haven't
it.
seen the enemy team interact with Bubble
And
outside
like
of shooting it.
obviously we've seen that like it technically is an invincibility as
Mhm.
far as we know, where like opponent's ink only shrinks the shield but it doesn't damage you if you're inside of it.
Mhm.
And like you said, like everybody's shooting at the vacuum so um it charges up super fast, but that's still like a one shot. Like if you don't kill the vacuum after that charge time, for example, it's going to kill you and your entire team because
Yeah.
Yeah.
you just gave it a free one shot.
Mhm.
I think it's I don't know because I like all the other specials. I want to say I think they're like really balanced and like quick, and I think it's more of mode design and map design that's going to affect them more than like the
Oh
specials
yeah,
themselves.
100%. Like if the maps are like Splatoon 2's maps, stuff like Vacuum will absolutely be broken. Like
Exactly.
with heavy
I
choke points and everyone forced to one area, it just won't work.
exactly.
Mm-hmm. So again, I think it really depends on the mode tweaks, and most importantly, it's just the map design. Like I think for these specials to work, the maps have to be good. There have to be multiple ways to move around, so Vacuum cannot wall out the only choke or Bubble wall out the only choke. There has to be better options. So to me, I think this just puts more of a pressure on the map design. If the map design is bad, then these specials can really break it. But if the map design is good, it should work out. But I would still like to see some mode tweaks, and I would love to see the devs be a bit more careful. I'm assuming they're testing it though, so I mean, we don't know what they know, and at this point, we kind of have to see what they do, and then if they don't do enough, then we can get a more definitive opinion. But for now, I think we just kind of have to wait and see. But
Hmm.
it will be something where they have to be very careful. Bagel, any added thoughts?
I definitely agree on the the map design, because in some Splatoon 2 maps, there's just one way to go.
Yeah, they
And you
just kind of suck.
Yeah. If a vacuum was on there, then you cannot push that choke point.
Mhm.
Like Splatoon 1 maps might have done it better, like Flounder Heights, where it's multiple angles you can come from, but
I mean, even old S1 maps would struggle with it, like
yeah.
Urchin, Walleye, a bunch of them
Walleye
would
was
still struggle.
definitely going to be bad. But yeah, I hope those maps don't really come back. I just hope there's more pathways if they do come back.
Yeah, there just
Or
has to be a lot of
approaches.
moving around options for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, like the way the game looks right now, like you can't really have like one centered pathways or even like two centered pathways because certain specials are just going to deny you completely. And then a main criticism of like special spam, it's going to be the same thing in regards to special spam because some things are just going to be broken and you need a special to counter a special.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything we want to add to this, or are we good here?
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right. So yeah, modes might need a little bit of tweaking. Maps very important.